Okay, well, thanks for coming today. Our main topic is going to be about photo editing by myself, Tom Kreuzer. And so thanks for coming. And we'll come on in. Plenty of seats there, Donna. Hope everybody have a handout there. And if you missed last month's, I do also have last month's. So last month's one is on photo organizing and sharing, and that kind of goes with the editing that we'll talk about today. So you can either stop up after or that. First, a little bio on myself. I'm known as the PC guy, because I have the personalized license plate PC guy. I'm the son of John Kreuzer here at Carondelet. I retired after 40 years at 3M in their information technology IT area. I'm an officer and presenter for the 3M Personal Computing Club, so I'm still associated with the club there, and I've been with them for over 48 years, and at its peak we had 1,200 members. I'm thrifty, not cheap, so if there's a lower cost or a more inexpensive way of doing things, I usually lean towards that. I mentioned here that there's free one-on-one tech help available here. You can sign up for 30-minute slots. I do tech help usually the first and the third Mondays from 1 to 3 p.m. And then there's Tom Strom, who does it on the second and the fourth Wednesday from 2:30 to 4:30. And you can sign up at the front desk for a time slot. Our topic next month, so in April, our topic will be online security and passwords. We'll talk about password managers again and pass keys and tips to keep you safe there, and that'll be April 16th. Also, I'll put a plug in, along with my sister and my brother-in-law and my dad, we do Fix-It Clinic. The Fix-It Clinic is coming up on this Monday, March 24th, from 1 to 3 p.m., and I think there's a couple of slots, 3 or 4 slots left for the Fix-It Clinic. You can sign up and we'll attempt to fix if you've got anything broken. Also, we do tech help, but realize that we've only got like a 15-minute slot to try and help you. But if it's a short question or that, we can help you out. I show here the Carondelet website, and out on the Carondelet website, I do have an entry out there called Tech Help. And so if you go out to the site, this is what the main Carondelet website looks like. There's an entry called Tech Help. There you can find a calendar of the different fix-its. You can find when our next presentation is and the one-on-one help. Also out there is I usually try and record the meetings and the handouts, and those are available out on this site. So if you miss one and want to revisit it or print it out or things like that, you can go out and see the past meetings and things like that. There's also an FAQ, and you can even ask a question on the site. Okay, we'll get to our main topic. Again, thanks for showing up. We've got a small group, so it'll be very informal. Ask a question whenever you want there. If I don't see you, wave your hands. But we're going to talk about photo editing. Yep.
Is that the one each Carondelet Village? Is that the one to call if you have a question? Additional links.
This takes you to the Carondelet website on the back of the handout. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then there's, if you're not familiar, this little block that's what's called a QR code. If you have a phone, a smartphone, or a tablet, you can scan that and that will take you right out there too. So you don't even have to type in the name if you don't want to there. Okay. Okay, we'll get to our main topic, which is photo editing by myself, Tom Kreuzer. In February, so last month, I talked about photo organizing and sharing. And so if you did miss that, you can go out to the website and you can view the video and the handout if you missed it. A very important step in your process of organizing and sharing should be editing. And editing your photos, you're trying to make the photo the best that it can be. So whether it's too light or too dark or has some other problems or there's a person in there that you don't want or things like that, editing is the solution to fix the problem. There are many tools, there are many websites, and even artificial intelligence available today. But you need to have a plan and put in a little effort to make it work. None of this stuff happens automatically. People claim that they don't have time to edit their photos. But if you do it once a month, as you manage and share your photos, you should spend less than a minute for the average photo. So last month I talked about how each month you should collect your photos, you should add some descriptions, you should identify the people in the photos, you should do all these things. Well, part of it is also going to be editing the photos. And it's not a daunting task. If you have, in an average month, I have maybe between 50 and 100 photos that I really want to manage. And doing that takes me maybe a half an hour to manage, to edit, to do everything. I don't spend a whole lot of time on it. And you don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it. You just have to start doing it, and after you do a bunch of them, you'll get better and better and better, and things will go faster. Next is information and tips to get you going with your photos. Do some or all the tips, but resolve today to get off your butt and do something. This is the same comment I made with the organizing and sharing. The majority of people that I know talk about doing something with their photos. They just never get around to doing anything. And so if you feel that you're the only one that's not organizing, most people aren't organizing. Most people say, I'll get to it someday, and you just have to start at some point. And like I mentioned last month, it's kind of Confucius there. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. You just have to do this stuff gradually. You're not going to jump in and one day or 1 week organize all your photos. You do a little bit each day, and you'll advance and get more and more done there. I mentioned here that I won't be covering videos. So nowadays people take videos along with photographs. Videos are a little bit different, and there's different tools to work with them. So at this point we're mainly talking about photos there. Okay, what are some of the tools to edit the photos? Well, you start out with the basics. A camera itself, whatever camera you use, usually has a number of settings and a number of things there. Then you have apps, then you have the web itself, and then there's software. So there's a ton of tools out there. Most smartphone cameras, so a lot of people are using their smartphone to take photos today. That'll do an excellent job of taking a photo when you use it correctly and when you have the right settings. And there's a lot of settings, and there's lots of good things you can do with the camera and a lot of bad things you can do with the camera. Before you start taking photos with your smartphone, you should read and experiment with the many modes and settings your camera has. As an example, almost every camera supports things like night mode, macro, panorama, remove background, quality, burst, live capture, and hundreds of other options. The only way you're going to know what options your camera has is to look in the manual. So when you get a new smartphone or a new device, I recommend that you go out to the vendor's website, download the manual, because none of the manuals come in the package when you buy things nowadays. You have to go out to the site, you have to download the manual. It's usually a PDF file, and you can view the full manual. Frequently for a smartphone, that may be 200 to 300 pages. You don't have to read all those for the camera. You just want to go to the section for the camera, or the chapter for the camera, and that's going to describe all the features and functions your particular model has. And once you see these features and functions, you can then start experimenting with it on your phone. So because it doesn't cost you anything, try the different options, try the different settings, learn how to change some of the things, and that's going to give you better pictures in the long run there. So that's the first thing really to improve your photos and to edit is use your camera correctly, understand the settings that you have. Even if you follow everything after you take the photos, there's lots of tools to help you improve the photo even more. You don't have to be a pro to edit like one. Use the editing tools that we'll talk about next to give your photos just the right, great look. So there's lots of tools for editing photos. Almost all the tools that are out there have some basic features that you can manipulate photos. And some of those things are things like auto adjust the light, the contrast, the exposure, the white balance, and all kinds of things automatically. You don't have to know what to do or how to do things there. They also come with filters. Like black and white, turning it into black and white, doing tints, doing saturations, doing sharpening, doing warmify, doing these different things. And this is just a little example here of first the photo, which isn't bad at all, but to make the colors pop a little more, you can make the colors pop, or you can do what's called saturation. This is even adding more color to it. And you're in control to figure out, well, which image do you like and what's the best image there. And then you can also do things like cropping it. And almost every picture can use a crop. You want to crop out the things that are unimportant, and that forces the eye or the person viewing the photo to concentrate on the most important thing that you're trying to convey with the photo. So you can make your photos 10 times, 100 times better by cropping them, getting rid of the distracting things. And if you crop them, you'll see in the examples that we do later how you can improve a photo that maybe you can barely make out who's in the photo because the faces are so small. Well, if you crop it correctly, all of a sudden the faces are big and you can see people and you can see the things that are important. You can also rotate pictures if they're the wrong direction, straighten them, or flip them. Okay, let's talk about some of the tools, and depending on the devices that you have, there's different tools that you can use. If you have an iPhone, an iPad, or a Mac, you already have Apple Photos. It's a free package and it's a free app that's on all these different devices. It lets you do all those basic things that I talked about, plus it lets you do some advanced things. And one of the advanced things, if you have the latest operating system and that, you can remove unwanted objects or people with what they call their artificial intelligence cleanup. So after you take a photo, if you notice, oh, there's somebody in the background here, and they're really not adding to your photo, they're distracting, I can remove them. Because all I want is the family. and I don't want this person in the background there. So you can remove it. Another thing you can do is you can do advanced artificial intelligence filters. And these filters are, again, it's like having a robot or that go through and improve your photos. So you can try these different filters and say, does this look better, or does it look better with this? So let's take a look at some of the features of Apple Photos a little bit. Let's go here, let's see. So this is an example of editing within Apple Photos. You can see there's a ton of settings, and some of them are automatic where you just try different things. Other ones you can manually tune it, and you can get it to look exactly the way that you want it. Yes?
Tom, can you back up just a second? Like if I look at one of my photos, it has default to certain things that I can edit. And now you're talking about Apple Photos. I was just looking at one of my photos. Did I go to a separate section called Apple Photos?
Yeah, I'll repeat the question. The question was, if I just took a photo on my iPhone or that, am I in Apple Photos, or do I have to start something else up? And you have to start something else up. It's called Apple Photos there. So by default, on your iPhone or that, when you take a picture, you're in the camera app. So the options that you see in the camera app, there are some editing that you can do in the camera app, but the Apple Photos app is going to have so many more features and functions that you can do. Now, some of those features and functions may be easier to do on a laptop or a desktop situation. If you're doing this fine tuning, your screen on the iPhone is pretty small, so trying to do some things, unless you're removing or moving objects on the screen, you might want to save some of those edits for on a laptop or a desktop with a larger display and screen. And you don't have to limit yourself to one of these packages to do editing. So you can use one package to edit and change it here, and then as part of your process when you manage and publish, you may use another package to make some other edits. So it's up to you how many packages you use, when you use it, if you use it on the phone, if you use it on a tablet, if you use it on a laptop. It's entirely up to you and your process. Yes.
So how do I get there? Do I go to a photo first, or do I go to Apple Photos and I pull in photos to that?
Yeah, the way that you can get there, let's say on the phone, is just look for the Photos app. So there's an app called Photos. You open up the Photos app, by default, it's already looking for all the photos on your phone. So all the photos that you've taken are on your phone, and you can start editing the photos there. Okay? And there's also in Apple Photos, when we talked last month about managing and sharing, Apple Photos also has options to manage. So you can see the location of where the photos was taken, or change it if it doesn't have the correct location, GPS location. You can put in titles. You can start creating albums by location and by different things. So in addition to Apple Photos letting you edit, there's all these other features and functions that you have within the package. And it's up to you whether you choose to use them or don't use them. And this probably is familiar to Marla, because Marla was going through some of her photos and deleting some stuff and trying to put it in albums just a couple of days ago. So you have these different capabilities within the package to do that. But in addition to that, you also have editing that you can do. In this case, if you have a bird in there, you can have Apple Photos tell you what kind of bird it is and information about it. some of the editing things. Again, you have all the basics in terms of cropping and colors and all kinds of things that you can do there. And then to remove unwanted objects or that, here's a picture of a child, and then there's somebody that they aren't interested here. Well, you can remove that person literally in a matter of seconds. So it's up to you. We won't go into the video right now, but to learn how to do that, it is literally point and click and they're gone. So it's very easy to clean up. It's very easy to add these different tricks and edits to your photos. So that's or Apple Photos. Quite powerful, and especially if you have an iPhone, an iPad, or a Mac. If you don't have one of those, then you don't have access to Apple Photos. But if you have Windows, guess what? There's a package called Microsoft Photos. And that has all the basic edits plus a lot more. And Microsoft also has another package called Paint. These packages are made for Windows. You can do things like background blur to pinpoint an image focus. You can do Paint's regenerative to add different objects or visual effects to selected areas, or you can erase objects. So a lot of these packages, you can do the same thing in all the different packages. You just have to find where that feature or function is. So that was Microsoft. I don't have a link there. Another major player in the photo editing arena is Google. And Google has a package, guess what? It's called Photos. So all three of them, Apple, Microsoft, Google, have packages, apps, things like that. Google Photos, one of the advantages of that package is it works on Apple products, also works on Android products, and also has a website. So it has all the basic features, plus has things like Magic Editor and Magic Eraser built into it. So let's take a quick look at some of theirs, or some of the features here. So this is Apple Photos. Again, you can have it on your phone. And let's say you took a picture here, and you go, well, this is a nice picture, but I'd like this person here to be closer to the other people. Well, instead of having to set up people and move the tent or do things like that, you can just literally, as fast as this is going, you can move the tent to where you want it. Don't have to have the person do anything. You just literally clicked and decided where you wanted it moved, and it moved it. So you can do that. Another thing is Magic Erase. So here's a nice photo of a couple of kids, but you'll see there's a distracting trash can here. And your eye is kind of drawn to that trash can, and so it's taking away from the photo. Well, with one or two clicks here, one click to select it, another to remove it, and it's gone. So as fast as you can think about what you want, you can improve your photos and you can do the things. Another thing is, if you've got a blurry photo here, here's an example of a blurry photo where the people over here, it's not quite as sharp there. Let's see here. See, I can sharpen it up. This is how the original photo looked. So you have all these different tools available to you. And you're not going to use all these tools on every photo you have. It may just be a case of over the course of a month, you want to unblur one photo or two photos that weren't real sharp. You're not unblurring every photo that you have. You just do this for the stuff that you need. Here's an example of portrait light where it changes the background lighting of the photo. And so you have all these tools to take photos that you create from average to advanced. And you don't really have to know much of anything to take advantage of the power on that's in here. And thanks for coming there. There is a handout in back if you do want a handout there. Okay, so that's Google Photos, and again, the Google Photos is very similar to the Microsoft Photos, which is very similar to the Apple Photos. Which tool you use, it's up to you. And you'll see a little bit later, personally myself, I sometimes use all of them in a month. I maybe use it for one photo, I'll use this, and for another, because I took it with this camera or with this device, I had it out there, and I do my editing there. Another package that I use, and I talked about it last month, is Google Picasa. Google Picasa is a photo editing and managing package available for Windows and the Macintosh. It's not an app for a phone or that, but I talked about it last month to manage and share photos, and I haven't found a better replacement. So that's definitely a package that I use every month when I edit my photos, and when I show a demo in a little bit, that's the package that I'm going to be using. There's all kinds of other packages out there. A very popular one is Adobe Lightroom. Adobe Lightroom is available for the iPhone, the iPad, the Mac, Windows, and websites. It costs roughly $10 a month, and you get storage up on the Adobe site. So again, if you're looking to manage and share your photos, that may be an option that you want to choose. It's best for serious amateur photographers. So it's not the easiest package in the world to use, and it has a lot of options. So it's made for somebody that wants to do more than just the basics there. Adobe also makes a higher end than Lightroom. It's called Adobe Photoshop. And they just released versions of that for the iPhone and the iPad in February. So less than a month ago, they released a version for that, and an Android version is going to be coming out in mid-2025 for Windows and the Mac and Android. The basic version of Photoshop is free, but usually if you want to use the other features, it can cost up to $300 per year. And it's a great package, but it's best for somebody who considers themselves a professional photographer, and they have the time to learn how to use the tools, and they really spend a lot of time with their photos. It's not for the average person, and the costs, again, these other options that I mentioned, most of them are free. So why would you pay for something if you really aren't going to use the features and the functions in there? Adobe Photoshop will do generative fill and generative expand. You can do combining, composting, blending images. You have layers in the photos. You can move and you can overlay and you can do masks and you can do all these things. And you have access to thousands of Adobe stock assets. It also has a more sophisticated selection tool. So if the automatic AI tools for selecting and moving and deleting and stuff like that don't work for you as well as you'd like, you can use a more advanced tool like this to get exactly what you want. But it may take you an hour or a day of editing to totally get it. But this is, again, basically for a professional photographer who has the time to learn how to use the tool. Another popular tool out there is one called GIMP. It's available for Windows and Macintosh. It's free. It's almost as powerful as Adobe Photoshop, but it's not as user-friendly. So it's what's called a shareware or public domain software that's maintained by programmers for free, but it's not as user-friendly as some of the other packages. But again, it's a tool that maybe you want to investigate and use. There also are a number of AI sites. In the past, I've talked about MyHeritage, which is a genealogy site, but they have a whole section for improving your photographs. Some of it is to colorize old black and white photos, to sharpen them, to guess their geographic location based on the items that are in the background of the photos. So lots of different options there. Another one is Canva for doing some AI type things. But there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of these specialty editors that you can find. Some of them are free to use, some of them are low cost. Okay, let's talk about what I use and what I do in my process. So during the month, when I take a photo or I do things, I sometimes use Apple Photos, I sometimes use Google Photos, I sometimes use Microsoft Photos. So I happen to use kind of all these different things. But let's say I take 100 photos over the course of a month, I'm only editing from 0 to 5 photos using these different tools. So to move objects or to delete objects in the background or things like that, I usually am not doing that to hardly any photographs, but maybe 1 or 2 or stuff like that I want special edits on. For my basic edits, I use Google Picasa to do my standard edits at the end of the month in my process that I use to manage and share my photos. It's very fast, it's easy to use, provides me very good editing, and I'll demo some of it in a little bit here. The unfortunate thing about Picasa is it was retired by Google, so Google's no longer updating it in May of 2016. So it's no longer being updated. I still use it. Over 5 million people in the United States still use it, so a lot of people still use it. It's just not being updated there. Still works for what I need, and it has a Windows and a Mac version. Within Picasa, it has a basic fixes tab where you can crop, and I'll demo this stuff. You can straighten photos if it's a little bit off kilter or you scanned it and that's not quite straight. If you have red eyes, and red eyes usually can come from flash pictures. Even with smartphones, you sometimes get the red eyes in the flash if flash was used. Then there's a feature called I'm Feeling Lucky. That automatically tries to pick the best color and the best contrast, and that usually works for most of the changes. Otherwise, you can manually do things, or you can use the auto contrast, auto color. You can retouch blemishes, small blemishes to improve the photo. You can add text to a photo, so maybe you want to put such and such's birthday, 75th birthday, or so-and-so's wedding. You can put that on any of the photos or on a title page for the slides. You have a fill light slider to add light to the background, and I'll show a little bit of that. You can rotate the picture at any time. You have a tuning tab. It also has the fill light slider. It has a highlight slider to improve the quality of the photo and give some definition to photos so they aren't all kind of dark or black or things like that. You have a shadow slider to add more shadows to your photo. color temperature. If the photo looks like it has a blue tint or something like that, you can change the tint and get rid of the blue and that literally with one click there. You have a neutral color picker, which will automatically adjust the colors. You have effects tabs where you can turn it into black and white or saturation or soft focus or all kinds of different options there. So what do I do? What I do in my photo process in Picasa, once a month, I mentioned when I manage and share, once a month I gather all my photos together and get them ready to manage and share, add information, and part of that is to edit the photo there. And my process I talked about in February. You can look at the past presentation for steps 1 through 6 where I start organizing the photos. Then my 7th step is to edit the photos, and this is where I crop them if they need cropping, I fix the light, I fix the color, and I do these fairly basic edits there to make the photos better. Many of the photos need no changes or next to no changes, and I usually spend anywhere from 10 seconds to at most a minute on a photo. So I'm not spending a lot of time editing it. I just go in, improve it, move on to the next one. And then as part of my process to share and to manage, I continue on with the steps where I then end up sharing this and adding it to albums up on the internet there. So let's take a look at just a demo. First I'll demo Google Picasa, show you how easy it is and what's going on. And again, these other packages, be it Apple Photos or Microsoft Photos or stuff like that, you have similar features and functions. It's just that they're under different menus and they may be easier. Well, they probably aren't going to be easier than Picasa, but you can do all the same things there. And then if we have time, I'll do a demo of Google Photos also on the web. So let's go over here. Here I'm in Picasa. Picasa is running on my laptop right here. I have put some sample photos here, in this case 6 different photos. Some of them are scanned in images because I'm using some of these scanned in images because they'll showcase how you can change a bad photo into a good photo and some of the power that you have in Picasa there. So we'll go through and we'll make some changes on these 6 photos. And this is what Picasa editing looks like. So I'm in this photo. This is a picture of me in grade school that I scanned in. But scanned in are the same as taking a photo. I can edit, I can change anything. Well, this first thing I notice in the scanned in is it's not straight. It's kittywampus in here. Well, I can use these different tools. You'll see these are the ones we talked about. I can crop it, I can straighten it, I can get rid of red eye, I can do I'm feeling lucky, I can change the colors, I can retouch, I can add text, I have these fill lights, so I have these different things. First we'll straighten it, and this is how hard it is to straighten it. You just go in here, when it looks like it's straight, you do apply. That's all it was to straighten it. Now I should crop it because I want to get rid of the extra space around here and make sure I just have my image itself. I do that. Now this image doesn't look real good. It's an old image. It's got a tint to it. It's not real good. Let's try I Can Feel Lucky here. Now the I Feel Lucky goes through, adjusts the colors, and I end up with a lot better photo than what I had. The other thing I can see on here, you probably can't see it yourself, but let's blow this up. There's a little hair or scratch on the photo there. Well, I can fix that with this retouching tool. I can go over here, click once on here, got rid of the blemish. So literally, as fast as I can see it, I can start retouching, I can fix things up. So this is an example of changing some of the things there. You have other tools, these fill lights. I don't need the fill lights. Maybe I want this to be a little bit darker, so I can add some more shadows in the background, and I can change the color a little bit by adding these shadows in here. So with that, I can do that. And now I'm done with this photo. We'll move on to the next photo. Here's another photo. This is from about 1975. It's from an Instamatic camera, and the colors are all faded, and it's not too good. But let's go back here. I don't have to straighten it. Let's crop it though, because we've got this extra space here. So this is a photo that I scanned in, and I crop it. Come here and I say, I'm feeling lucky. One click, got my colors back. I've got a usable photo. That's all I have to do with this photo here. Here's another photo that I have. Well, the first thing is, I want to rotate it. With one click, I rotate it. I've got some extra space here, so I should crop it. Go in here, crop this just to the people and just to the tree. Apply that. The color's not too bad, but actually I can improve the color even more by doing that. So what, in under 10 seconds I've fixed that photo. Here's a photo, a recent photo of the 3M, some of the 3M PC Club members. We have an annual picnic, and this is about 40 of the people that were there. But you can see the photo, it's a group photo, and it's pretty dark. It's hard to see there, especially the people in the back there. So the first thing that I do with this photo is let's crop it, because again, almost every photo can use a good crop. Crop out the things so that the most important things in the photo are there. That way the faces are going to be bigger. Everything's going to be better when you crop it correctly. So now that I've cropped it, I still have the colors to deal with. Well, one of the things is I can change the fill light here. And you can see I can lighten up the background there. So I can go here and I can change the fill light, and I can click on I feel lucky and change the color. So I took something that was hard to make out the people, and there I am right there. But it was hard to make out the people in back. They were too dark. The faces were small because I had a lot of extra space. I cropped it, made it better, and literally in 10 seconds or so I fixed the photo. Here's another image. This is actually just from a couple of months ago. My nephew and his family, and then my brother-in-law and sister. And this is a selfie that he took, and it's a good selfie. But again, most of these pictures can be improved. And one of the things is I don't have to straighten it, don't have to do red eye. Let's do a crop. Let's crop this to just the most important thing, which is the pictures of the family themselves. I don't need the staircase. I don't need the other stuff here. I'll apply that. So just doing that, now I've got bigger faces here. I can actually see people, and I can do things. And I can just make sure that the colors are correct by doing I'm feeling lucky. And now I've got the colors and the people corrected and showing good there. Okay, let's look at this. This is the last photo that I'm going to edit. This is also of my nephew here and my great nephew, and they were in a basketball tournament and they won it. And this is a good picture, but again, we can make this picture better. And instead of putting this up there and just looking at that, we go here and we crop. And really, we don't care about this area up here. We don't care about the floor down here, the bleachers over here, the person that's got their back turned here. We come in here and we crop this down to just the basics. I just want the team there, and this will give me just the team. And right now you'll see there's my nephew. You can barely see his face, but after we crop it, obviously now I can see his face. Now I can see my great nephew. And again, if we want to make sure the colors are correct, we can say I'm feeling lucky. Bang. Now we've got a photo that's probably 50 times better than what the original was there. So just with a few clicks, a few edits, let's go back to the library now. We did 6 photos, and we did quite a bit of editing on them, and it took me, even with my talking, probably less than 5 minutes to do these 6 photos. And if I wasn't talking, I could have edited these in 2 minutes or 3 minutes. So with just a few clicks and a few points, you can edit and you can change things. So that's Google Picasa. Let's take a look at Google Photos. And Google Photos, there's an app that you can have on your phone. And so if you have it on your phone, you have certain capabilities and you use your finger and you do some things, but there's also a website. And so if we go out to Google Photos here, let me pull up that, and let me have albums out there, but I can go and look at my photos. And let me pull up just pick I've already published that one of the kids and winning there. This is what it looks like in Google Photos that I'm sharing with the world. But I could have edited it up here because you'll see there's an edit. If I click on the edit, it takes me into edit mode. It shows me a bunch of suggestions that it'd recommend. If I wanted to make the photo warmer, just one click. Oh, I want it dynamic. I want it enhanced. It's making some recommendations. Cool. I really don't like cool, but maybe I like the warm. Also, I have probably 100 other tools here for cropping, doing different things. So you can still do all the cropping and the rotating and things like that I was doing in Picasa. You also have access to all these individual effects and settings that I can do. I could manually make things darker, make things brighter there. So you can, if you do want to get down to the fine tuning or things like that, you can do that. This is an example of out on the web of using Google Photos and the ability to edit and to change things there. Let's go back. So that's the demo and showing some different tools, and everybody's got access to tools. It's just a matter of which one that you want to use and how you want to use it there. Questions or comments on the tools? Yeah.
You talked about removing something, but is there a tool to add like a family member that was left out of a photo, take it from another photo or something?
The adding from another photo is a little more difficult. It's not impossible, and there are sites that let you do it, but that particular function is kind of a level up from all the others, because what you're having to do is scale it because you may have the person in a different size, and that usually requires a more advanced tool to do, but there are websites, there are tools to do that. I've done it in GIMP myself, Adobe Photoshop, but Google Photos doesn't have an option to do that. Apple Photos doesn't have an option to do that. Now, they may in the future have an option to do that, but right now, Apple Photos, as an example, does not. If you have a Samsung phone, Samsung built that into their AI and their photo package. So you do see different features and functions in different packages. Okay. Other questions, comments? Yes.
I know how to rotate a photo, but if I took it, if I had my camera this way instead of the other way, portrait versus landscape or something, and I rotate, I want to put it in frame. If I took it the wrong direction, is there any way to correct that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it depends on the package, but let's go back here to Picasa as an example. So let's go back and edit. So this is the rotate. I can rotate it any direction I want. When I'm done making all my edits and save it, that's the version of the photo that gets shared and made available. So yes, in some cases your phone is trying to set whether it's horizontal or vertical. Sometimes it doesn't get it correct, but you can always change it in any of the packages that I talked about. Will let you do what's called rotating. The other thing that I don't know if you've ever taken a selfie. Do anyone take a selfie or that? Well, if you take a selfie and let's say you have lettering on your sweatshirt or t-shirt, you'll notice that the lettering is backwards because it's doing what's called a mirror image. It's coming backwards. Well, I don't like mirrored images. I would prefer to have the sweatshirt say the English that it is. And so what there is in a number of tools, not every tool, is the option that's called flip. And flip is the opposite of mirror. It'll flip the image as if it is a mirrored image, and now the writing will be correct and everything, people on the left side will be on the left side and writing will be left to right and things like that. So there's tools to correct and fix really everything under the sun that you can think of. Other questions or comments? And you're not gonna be as fast as I was today the first time you start using these tools, but obviously the more you use it, the better you get at it. When I was talking about cropping an image, almost every photo I take and every photo I get from friends and family and that I accumulate, almost all of them I go through and crop because there's certain principles. In college I took photography and there's art principles about where your eye is drawn, what's pleasing to the eye, where things should be arranged. If there's one person, that person should be in this location on the photo. And if there's two people, it should be set up this way. And you never just put them in the middle, and what almost everybody do when they take a photo, crowd everybody together and get them in the middle and take a photo there. Well, that can work for just documenting, but if you're trying to get a pleasing photo, whether it's an engagement photo or a nice looking photo, there's certain principles of visual, the way our mind processes images that you want to adhere to. And some of those, like on your smartphone, there's settings for every smartphone. If you go into the settings, you can turn on what's called the rule of thirds. Now, are people familiar with the rule of thirds or ever heard of it? So if you have your image of what you're going to shoot, if I hold it like this, you take and divide this into 3 horizontal slices and 3 vertical slices. So that gives you a total of 9 blocks in your photo. There's rules about where people should be, where the sky should be, where people should be looking to. Should they be looking to their left? Should they be looking to their right? And if you've taken art classes, they'll teach you the way that the mind processes and the way that the mind thinks. We're in a culture where we do reading from left to right. So if you want to tell a story or you want somebody to be looking out, you want them to be looking out left to right. You don't want them to be looking right to left. That's backwards. This rule of thirds will tell you don't position, if you have one person, don't position that person in the middle cell of the 9 cells there. You position them in one of those outside cells there. And if there's other objects, buildings or things like that, there's rules. And then there's also rules for when your eye sees a photograph, it's a case of, let's say like this. When you saw, whether you know it or not, when you saw this photo, your eyes immediately went here and here. That's the first place that your eyes went, because they go to the lightest part of the photo. And so the dark part, our eyes, if you had a camera on your eyes when you opened up, you'd see the eyes scanned the whole image, but your eyes went right there. And you can use that to your advantage to make photos better and to make it more pleasing. Because people will say, well, this photo looks very pleasing, and another one that's very similar, you'll say, gee, there's something kind of wrong with it. I like this other one better than this one. And that's because of the way our eyes work and our culture and everything that's tied up in there. And those are some of the things that the more you know about this, so that rule of thirds, you can turn it on in your camera. It's a feature in your camera. Most people don't turn it on because a lot of people don't know about it and they don't know how to use it. But if you want to learn how to use that, just Google that, look out on YouTube, and watch a half-hour video. It'll show you how to use it, and then you'll know how to take better pictures there. So there's a ton of resources to learn how to do these things. The cameras can help you because they have built-in capabilities that most people aren't using in that. And it can help you end up with the best pictures and the best experience that you can have. And the more you work with the photos and things like that too, even if you don't take a class or look at a video or that, you'll just start figuring out for yourself, I like this, I don't like that. This is, the more you work with images and do things, you'll figure things out yourself too. Yes?
Apple photos have anything similar to I Feel Lucky? That seems like one you were using a lot.
Yeah, the I Feel Lucky is contrast and color. It's auto contrast and color. So some packages don't have a combination of the two, but they'll have a separate auto color and auto contrast. And it's usually that combination that gives you a better photo there. The cameras are trying to do the best that they can do, and over the years they've gotten a lot better, but in some cases these packages can just raise it a little bit, or if it's old scanned photos, it can raise it or change it a whole lot. But in most cases you can end up fixing it. And even that case, the one of the group photo, well, that was created with a digital SLR. This guy's a semi-professional photographer. He set up a tripod. but he didn't have a big flash, so he was limited with the available light. And the available light meant some of the people in the front were lit okay, and the people in the back were all dark. Now this package that I'm using, none of these changes that I made are permanent. I can go backwards here and undo what I did. And I can redo it, and I can have the images side by side, and I can compare them. So I have all kinds of these other features. I didn't show some of that in Picasa, but you have all kinds of things. But this is what the original, well, I guess we do have to uncrop it there. You know, there's the uncropped original photo. And again, which looked better, this one or the final one that's cropped and well lit and stuff like that? And that's where some of the photos you can end up with 10 times better, 100 times better than what they were. And just with a little bit of effort and a free package, because again, Microsoft Photos, Picasa, Apple Photos, all of these are free packages. You're just not using them today. You're not trying to fix it or that. And if you have that process to manage your photos and to share it, at the end when you share, you want to share the best version of that photo that you can. So you might as well spend a few seconds. We're talking seconds. We're not even talking minutes. Put a little bit of effort in to improve the photo. Now, one thing I'll mention, so when I was going through here and we did the crop, so I do the crop here, I do the fill white, I do my stuff, I end up with a good photo. This is a photo to put out on the web and share. If you said to me, I want to print out an 8 by 10, you couldn't print out a good 8 by 10 using this photo. Because the aspect ratio, the length, the width, if you brought it in to a package, or let's say you were going to Walgreens, you'd have to cut off some of the people. Or you'd have white space at the top or bottom. So what I do is I keep the original photograph. So I keep the original photograph and the edited photograph. So I have the two. The one I share on the website is the edited photograph. And it's not meant to be printed. If I want to print an 8 by 10, I go back to this. So let's go back. I can undo these changes here. I go back to the original image. I go to crop. I can say, well, I want to crop it so it looks good in an 8 by 10. And now when I draw my border of that, all of a sudden I see, well, let's see. Golly gee. Doesn't look real good there. Any way that I do it, it's hard for me to get the entire group in here and that. But if I want to print stuff out, let's say for a Christmas card and I want a particular size or I want an 11 by 14, I go back to the original and I redo my edits to fit, to print out the best version of that photo that it can be. But what I share with people is I share with people the best photo for them viewing it online. And viewing it online is entirely different than viewing it or printing out an 8 by 10 photo there, or a 5 by 7 photo, or a 4 by 6, or whatever size a person is doing. So it's the more you work with some of this stuff, you can figure out your own process and your own way of making sure that you get the best things that you can get. Other questions or comments? And the more you play with it and try some of the tools, and you don't have to be limited with one tool. Try this one, try that one, because there's usually no cost. If you do have I recommend to people, if you're going to do a lot of editing or a lot of things, maybe you have a desktop or a laptop with a larger screen. Because it's obviously easier to sort your photos, to move your things there. But now is an excellent time to be doing things because we all have access to so many different tools, and with this artificial intelligence and things like that, it's making it easier and easier to do. And the capabilities, like you were talking about, adding a person to a photo or doing things like that, it's only becoming easier and is getting built into more and more of the packages to make it easier to do. But the complexity of the original, let's say Adobe Photoshop, to do something like that is you have to be working in what's called layers. So you think of a photo as the original photo is one layer. Well, you can add another layer on top of that, and that just has this new person. Well, you have to size that, and you have to position it, and you have to feather it into the original photograph, and that all takes work and special tools to do. Okay? Well, thanks for coming, and hopefully it'll give you a jump start to go out and do some of this stuff. And
I missed the first one. Where would I find the sorting?
I actually have some of the handouts from the first one here. You also can go out on the back of this. On the back of this is the Carondelet website, and the video of it, and this handout is also up there too, so if you wanted to see it. Okay? You're welcome. Well, thanks for coming, and good luck there. It's a case of, like I say, most people think they're the only ones not editing or organizing their photos, when the reality is most people just haven't gotten around to it. They have the best of intentions of doing things, they just haven't gotten around to it. Okay, well, thanks.
That brings up another question.
Yep.
I did go through and identify people in my photos because I hadn't done anything prior to your previous.
Yeah.
So, but still, when I go to some of the photos, it doesn't recognize